The Hinterkaifeck murders, Germany's most mysterious crime. Welcome to Shock Story with Billy. Hey everyone, welcome back to Shock Story. I'm Billy, and today I have something truly bone-chilling for you. This isn't just any true crime case. This is a story filled with unanswered questions, eerie details, and a crime scene that feels straight out of a horror movie. If you're a fan of bizarre mysteries, unsolved crimes, and dark history, then stay with me. Because today we're covering one of the strangest and most unsettling murders in history, the Hinterkaifeck murders. This case is over 100 years old, but even after all this time, no one knows who did it, or why. Some believe it was a jealous lover, others think it was a vengeful killer, and some even suspect that the murderer lived in the family's attic for weeks before striking. Let's go deep into the horrifying mystery of the Hinterkaifeck farm. A remote farm in the middle of nowhere. Our story takes place in 1922, in Bavaria, Germany, on a small farmstead called Hinterkaifeck. It was isolated, miles from the nearest village, just a lonely farmhouse surrounded by dense forest and empty fields. The farm belonged to the Gruber family, a troubled household with dark secrets. The victims. 6 people lived in the house. Andreas Gruber, 63 years old, the strict reclusive patriarch. Cecilia Gruber, 72 years old, his wife known to be quiet and reserved. Victoria Gabriel, 35 years old, their widowed daughter, rumored to have had a secret lover. Cecilia Gabriel, 7 years old, Victoria's little daughter, innocent and full of life. Joseph Gabriel, 2 years old, Victoria's son. His paternity remains a mystery. Maria Baumgartner, 44 years old, the new maid who had just arrived at the farm on the same day of the murders. The Grubers were not well liked in the community. Andreas was a violent man, rumored to have abused his family, and there were even whispers that Josef was actually his own child, the product of incest with his daughter Victoria. The family kept to themselves, and no one visited their farm often, and that's exactly why no one noticed when they disappeared. The ominous signs before the massacre. The murders didn't happen suddenly. In the weeks leading up to the crime, the Grubers experienced a series of terrifying and unexplained events. 1. Footsteps in the snow. One day, Andreas Gruber found strange footprints leading from the nearby forest straight to the house, but there were no footprints leading away. It was as if someone had walked onto the farm and never left. 2. Noises in the attic. The family began hearing strange sounds coming from the attic. At first, they assumed it was just rats, but the noises continued, and at times they sounded like footsteps. Andreas checked the attic several times. He found nothing. 3. A newspaper that no one bought. A newspaper appeared in their house, one that no one in the family had purchased. Where did it come from? Was someone inside their home? 4. Their keys went missing. One day, the farm's house keys vanished. No one could find them. It was as if someone had stolen them, but how? The doors were always locked. Andreas was deeply disturbed. He even told his neighbors about the strange occurrences, but no one thought much of it. Then on March 31st, 1922, something horrifying happened. The night of the murders, on the night of March 31st, the killer or killers arrived at Hinterkaifeck and butchered the entire family. But the way they did it is one of the creepiest parts of the story. Lured to their deaths. One by one, the 4 adult victims were lured to the barn, possibly by a noise or a disturbance outside. Once inside, they were brutally murdered with a mattock, a sharp, heavy farm tool similar to a pickaxe. Andreas and Cecilia were struck repeatedly in the face and head. Victoria suffered horrific skull fractures. Little Cecilia Jr. didn't die immediately. She ripped out her own hair in agony before she finally died. After killing the adults, the murderer went inside the house. 2-year-old Josef was sleeping in his crib. The killer smashed his tiny head with the mattock. Maria, the new maid, was murdered in her room before she even had a chance to settle in. The entire family was wiped out. But the creepiest part was yet to come. The murderer stayed for days. This is what makes the Hinterkaifeck case so terrifying. After committing 6 murders, the killer didn't leave. He lived in the house for several days. Neighbors saw smoke rising from the farmhouse chimney. The farm animals were fed and milked. The dog was let out and tied back up. Whoever did this stayed in the house, ate food and slept next to the corpses. And then, just as mysteriously as they arrived, they vanished. The investigation, a case that baffles experts. Days later, concerned neighbors came to check on the family. When they entered the barn, they found a horrific scene of blood and bodies. Strange clues at the crime scene. The mattock was missing. The murder weapon was gone. The family's money and valuables were untouched. This wasn't a robbery. The footprints leading into the farm were the only ones in the snow. Despite interviewing hundreds of people, the police never found the killer. Theories: who was the murderer? To this day, no one knows who committed the Hinterkaifeck murders, but there are many theories. 1. A jealous lover? Victoria was rumored to be in a secret relationship. Some think her lover killed the entire family in a jealous rage. 2. A family member. Some believe Andreas Gruber had enemies, perhaps someone who knew about his rumored abuse of Victoria came for revenge. 3. A stranger living in their attic. Many believe that the killer had been hiding in the attic for weeks, watching the family, waiting for the right moment to strike. 4. A serial killer? Some think it was a wandering drifter, a psychopath who killed and then stayed to live among the dead. Conclusion: the horror remains. The Hinterkaifeck murders remain one of the creepiest unsolved crimes in history. The idea that the murderer stayed in the house, cared for the animals, and vanished without a trace is what makes this case so terrifying. What do you think? Was it a revenge killing, a hidden attic stalker, or something even more sinister? Let me know in the comments. If you love mysteries and true crime, don't forget to subscribe to Shock Story for more terrifying tales. I'm Billy, and I'll see you in the next story. Stay safe and check your attic.